This week in comic books from DC, we get Superboy, Man of Tomorrow. We're kind of focusing on Connor Kent on this one. Something kind of interesting happens in it, and I want to talk to you about it. In Marvel, we get Rebirth, Warlock, #1, and it's not bad. Marvel's doing the old bait and switch again. And in the lands of Independent, we get Terror War, my only Independent this week, and I liked it. Dystopian future, nightmare horror, sci-fi stuff going on. It's a little bit of everything. Really enjoyed it. I want to talk to you about it and several other comic books. But first, let me try to save you some coffee. Check this out. What's going on, you weirdos? With the current ban of Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch products out there, I know a lot of you are about to get really sober and probably cranky. So please consider Coffee Brand Coffee. Use promo code POCANJOE, save yourself a little bit of money. Go in there and get yourself some flavors. Check out the reviews and let me know what you think. Coffee Brand Coffee. It's not Bud Light. Okay, be sure to check out the link down below if you're interested in some coffee or even my merch store. But let's jump into this week's haul and review. We're going to start off with Silent Tale. So this is just fun. That's all this is. It's about 6 stories in here. You get Zatanna, Harley Quinn. You get some cyborg action. You get some Lobo, right? Lobo's in there with his little funny story. A lot of good, and Joker. There's a great Joker one in here too. So this is just fun. There's no words. It's just a picture book that tells a story almost like a comic book strip. And they're all kind of in a Looney Tunes type fashion is the best way I can describe it. I enjoyed it. It was fun. And of course, I love that cover right there. Out of all the ones that came out, that was probably the best one. So there's not really much to say about it other than it's just good, stupid humor with some wit behind it. So we'll just go ahead and throw that off to the side. As I said, I did enjoy it. Next we got Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow. So I mentioned this in the beginning intro. So I really liked this because we get Connor Kent. You know, he's kind of the mix-up of Superman and Lex Luthor, kind of trapped in his own body, trying to be his own person at the same time too. And that's kind of important to this story. If you missed that, because he's brought to the Earth with all the other superheroes that are here now, because he's not technically from this one. And he's trying to find his place, but he keeps noticing, like, everybody's taking care of everything. You got, like, 4 different super people running around, various superheroes. Everything seems to be kind of okay, right? He can't find his own thing to do. Everybody else seems to be very well equipped in dealing with a team, but somebody who's trying to find their own way, obviously not. They're having a hard time finding their place in the world. So what does he do? He goes off-world to another world, unknown world that's having problems. He goes there to try to fix things. They brought back the Dementors in this one, and this one particular one's a scientist. He's kind of done some genetic woo-woo stuff where he's kind of combining superpowers with various beings. He's got about over 100 of them. Connor Kent, in his snarky little attitude way, picks a fight with all of them, but then all of a sudden something happens. Something starts to drop in bodies left and right, and it's these Cosmoteers. Never seen these characters before. If they've been in comic books before, let me know. I want to say they're a first appearance, but I'm not familiar with these characters. They kind of show up, and you're going to do the superhero standoff thing right now. I think you're the bad guy. No, you're the bad guy. They're going to do that back and forth a couple of times, apparently. But this was fun because I could see this, right? Somebody trying to find their way in the world, so they have to go someplace else. I know in my time in the military, a lot of guys just didn't have a whole lot of options where they grew up, so they went away. And I could kind of see that. I thought that was interesting. I love the artwork in it. It was just an all-around cool book. Great action scenes in it. Yes, it's your classic story, but we're dealing with complicated characters at the same time and concepts. And I think that's what really makes this story really pop for me. So I'm highly recommending this week. Not my pick, though. But, man, it was a close second. Good stuff. Next, we got Superman, #3. So this is a weird one to describe if you haven't caught up, because a lot goes on in this book, or in the last 2 issues. So Parasite, the character Parasite, sucks energy from things, has kind of popped off into several different versions of himself throughout. So to shut down Parasite in this, Superman convinces him to eat all the other parasites because the hunger never stops, right? It's always an addiction type story, right? That's what you got there. So he eats them all up. He's super full, yada, yada, yada. They're able to contain him. So now we can move forward, and Superman has realized that, yes, I do need to team up with Lex Luthor, who's currently in prison, and I need to team up with this super core thing that's being developed. Kind of like a team of superheroes. He's kind of got like an HQ for himself, right? Being run by, of course, LexCorp. What we found out is that there is a very strong connection with the mysterious villains in the background, the Society of Evil Geniuses, right? We're evil, I guess. And Lex Luthor, and apparently Lex Luthor's been kind of lying about his connection with these people and how tight they really are. So where does that end up leaving us? Plus, we're still doing some stuff with Bizarro in the background that hasn't been made quite clear yet, but we see like the mad scientists like dissecting him and studying him. This is so good. DC has really been popping this year. There's been some hot stuff going on in this. Even if you're just a devout Marvel fan, you may want to jump on board with some of this stuff because it's just good reading and it's fun and it's classic. And I really like that. Plus, that's a cool cover. Lois Lane as a little zombie thing. It was fun. All right, next. Again, another DC book that's just hitting. Full hitting. And that's World's Finest, number 14. I've been on World's Finest now since issue 1, since its new release, its new volume. This is great. So, Bruce Wayne is being framed for the murder of Solomon Stagg. I think that's his name. That's his name. So, but what we find out is that all these rich billionaires that are just kind of being offed or whatever are really androids. They've all been replaced by robots. Right? So, Superman, of course, finds this out because X-ray vision, superpowers, or whatever. That's not even the interesting part of this entire story. What's really interesting about this is to get down to see who's made these things, we find out that it's Ivo. Ivo's the creator of Amazo. I don't know what it is about the O's. There's a lot of O's going on. But regardless, and apparently he's creating these androids that kind of take the place of billionaires, so there's like some sort of massive wealth, some big genius playing in the background. So Superman and Robin go to find Ivo, and then come to find out he's done something to himself, science woo-woo, does something to himself where he can transform his body into various things from the periodic table. And one of the things we've added to the periodic table, right, in DC is kryptonite, right? Superman doesn't like kryptonite. I'm sure you knew that. So that doesn't work out too well. And of course we got Batman and I'm gonna mess up his name. I always do. I want to say Manifesto. Morphio? The guy that can change into like the various natural things, right? He's on the other side of all this as well, and of course they're investigating. They're going to go find Magnus, and come to find out Magnus is the guy who created the Metal Men. And apparently he's already been attacked and kidnapped, and his Metal Men, again more robots, are kind of just sitting, being melted in these kind of vats, but they're still kind of conscious enough to be able to speak while they're just kind of melting. It reminded me of Evil Lair Project, where I melt metals and stuff, and you kind of have that little sweet spot where it's kind of still solid and still kind of liquidy at the same time. I thought that was interesting. Just random rant there. But for the most part, it's a great story. It's a great little mystery. I love seeing Batman and Robin work together, but more especially I like seeing Superman and Robin work together. So that's always a good one, because he seems happier around Superman. Robin, that is. So yeah, going into Marvel, Captain America and the Unforgiven. So Captain America, to battle the Unforgiven, teams up with the Forgiven, who we've met once already. So yeah, they're gonna go fight this guy. His name is the Anti-Cleric. Apparently he has a relationship with a particular god and got all his powers, right? Super scary, vampiric stuff. And as I always say, a good vampire story is an addiction story, right? They have to feed, they have to eat, they have to cut off ties with society, but still try to be this normal thing at the end of the day. It's a great, right? It's a great concept. And here we find out that our little double agent girl was under duress and yada yada yada. She didn't really want to be the bad guy, so she's really the good guy now, even though she killed the leader of the Forgiven, the group of vampires. They're just trying to be like recovering addicts. It would probably be the best way to describe it. You following me? By doing good things. I thought the story was rushed. I really liked this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking bad about this because I did enjoy this. I just thought it was too much crammed in here because you kind of got this quick overshot of the members of the Forgiven and like the smallest little paragraph about them. And I was like, I would like to know more about this character. But I only got this one little like, this happened. And they may very well do that, right? That's fair. But man, when I first got introduced to them, you can kind of see like what nationality they're from, what time era they're from. I find myself interested in that because the story, like any good story, right? Simplistic story, complicated characters, and I would rather them spend more time on the complicated characters in here and their motivations, and just the vastness of them. There is a complete they're completely different. Like they should not work well together, but for some reason they do. I liked this. And of course, having Captain America in there always gives it the patriotic, do-gooder, attitude towards a superhero story as well. I thought they beat their villain a little too easy in it. Again, when you have so much stuff that you're trying to cram into a relatively simple story, you kind of start missing details and things kind of skip around a little bit. And I really wish that didn't happen in this, that they kind of let this one just kind of play out. I don't know. Maybe we'll get that in the future. I sure hope so, because I will read some more of this superhero team, especially if they're teaming up with other people, to kind of learn how to be forgiven. Right? All right, next. Marvel does its bait and switch on us with Warlock Rebirth. The reason why I say it's bait and switch, it's not really about Warlock. It's about a new character. Just for your knowledge, they've done this character already in the past. Yeah, we're talking about Incredible Hulk number 6 in the... Oh, I'm sorry, number 6 in the annual from Volume 2. The first appearance of her, or Paragon, or Kismet, or several of her same person, characters, same names. We kind of get a rebirth first. She comes out of Cocoon in here, and of course there's the superhero confusion, Warlock versus her. The interesting thing is all this takes place on Monster Island, right? That sounds cheesy, but on this island you get to see classic Marvel monsters from the past, and it kind of given a more updated version. And in this one we got Pip the Troll, we brought him back for some reason, and Gamora. They're just all kind of hanging out doing the Infinity Watch thing. So yeah, it's that. I don't know. Like, I think it's a cool introduction, but I think it's called Warlock Rebirth, but he seemed perfectly fine in it. Like, I don't know, it was actually her birth. Next, Hellcat. This is just annoying. After issue 1, I was like, okay, let's see if the character kind of, realizes that they're this annoying person, and maybe they'll get better. And nope, in this one they just kind of doubled down on it. It doesn't mean it's too late. She kind of got called out on her shit. But she's an annoying, twiggy, just self-absorbed child that wants to fight all the time. Reminds me of my first girlfriend. Crystal. Oh. Anyway. And of course there's some Sleepwalker action in it because honestly the character can't stand on their own, so you need to throw some Sleepwalker action in there. This story is very confusing because there's a lot of things going on. You got the whole Sleepwalker with his alter ego being in a mental institution, probably depression. That's what it sounded like. We got Patsy running around trying to be Little Miss Badass and know everybody's business, but still trying to figure out why she randomly murdered a person. We got Mama drama because Mom used to put her in a comic book strip and she thinks that that's the way her mother sees her, or identity issues there, or whatever the case may be. Plus, we have daddy issues on top of it. Dad left, dad came back, whatever that weird thing was, but apparently there was a reason for it. But they're just not telling us what it was because they're too much inundating us with too many stories at one time. And then just random stuff like a kid getting caught cheating in a college exam. They wasted 3 whole panels on that. And I'm just like, what's going on here? What storyline should I kind of be following instead of getting this full picture of how complicated this character is? And they're not. They're not complicated. They're just a horrible person. That's your hero. It's annoying. It is so annoying. I'm sorry. And if you're a fan, this is in no way a critic of you in any way. This is just all just personal review stuff here. So, Hellcat it up if you like it. I will not be picking up anymore. Next, Punisher. I'm still on board with this. This is kind of cool. So, Punisher defeats the god of war, Ares, right? And the Avengers are like, okay, now we're going to come in and stop the Punisher all of a sudden. Heroes. Always sticking their nose where it doesn't belong. By the way, cool cover. So, Captain America, Wolverine, your basic line of characters. Plus, you need Doctor Strange in there because he has the Beast inside of him. While all this is going on, we keep still getting flashbacks from Frank Castle's past about, the days that led up to the murder of his family in the park, because comic book writers cannot find any other anchor for Frank Castle than that, apparently. Well, leave it alone. Mind you, she's resurrected from the dead and walking around living. So while Frank Castle is battling the superheroes to get home, because that's always been his promise to his wife, I will always come home, right? She finds out, as going down to the library, apparently the Beast and his little cult, they keep records of everything Frank Castle, all of his murders and everything else. So she sits there and learns about her husband and what he's been doing since her and the kids have been dead, and absolutely devastated by it, as I'm sure anybody would. Frank Castle beats the Avengers with his magical beast woo-woo powers, finds his wife pulls out a gun and goes, "How dare you in the name of our children," and shoots him. Just saying, you can never go home. Never go home. Pops him, he drops, and of course that's where the story ends us, right? So I can't help but think, right, with everything that we've had with Punisher up to this point, since his inception to now, that's not all the stuff that he's done since she's been dead. Remember, she died at some point, was resurrected at some point, right? So really, you're looking at a 12 issue. What was the original issue run for that? That's all that he did was that, right? Maybe? I don't know. It's weird. I thought that was kind of a weird way to take that, but I'm definitely overthinking that. Very cool action scenes in here, though. Punisher catches Wolverine by the hand while his claws are out and turns and sticks him back into his own face. That was kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. That was pretty cool. But all in all, I do enjoy the book. There's no doubt about it. But for the most part, I just little mincy stuff like that. Next, Star Wars Yoda number 6. So manifest destiny. I'm sure you've heard this term before. It's when you're trying to avoid something happening by taking precautions. But what you don't realize is that your precautions are what actually end up making the thing happen. Right? You see this in it's very well explained in time traveling stories. Somebody's going to go back to the past and stop something. They do some stuff to alter the past and then realize that they're the ones that actually made the bad thing happen. That's what kind of happens in this story, as we have a Wookiee kind of get visions that this particular lizard friend of his, they're both in Jedi Academy, is going to turn to the dark side. So he's trying to prevent this. But what ends up happening is she walks away from the school, teams up with Dooku to go off into space on a diplomatic mission. Of course, Dooku being really just a Sith in disguise, right? Kind of manifesting that whole thing. I've realized why I don't like this story, and it's for the most superficial reason of all time. You ready for this? I don't like the idea of Wookiees, like Chewbacca and all those characters. I think they make horrible Jedis. It just looks ridiculous to me. All the hair flowing everywhere, and they're throwing around their little laser sword. That can't work out very well. I'm that shallow. I am that shallow. And I'm okay with that. Last but not least, folks, I want to leave you with Terror War Pick of the Week for an independent. It's been a while since we had a Pick of the Week in Independence, and I'm super happy that it's this one. I really like this. So in this book, you're in a future, right? And you're in the ghettos of the future, which is even worse. You have a paramilitary security force here, because what is going on is that people's fears are being manifested into real life. They're nightmares, in other words, the things that fear, right? And they're oversized, and of course, vicious and dramatic. And there's this special paramilitary group that kind of goes around on contracts to destroy these things as they pop into our Earth. I think this is a great mixture of a little bit of a silliness you can play with it, some horror aspect to it, a great sci-fi little glitch to it, plus warring fractions because the military units don't always get along, right? It's like this platoon and this platoon. They hate each other and try to steal contracts from each other. So all in all, I really like this. As weird as it sounds, but I like weird sometimes. This is actually, especially when you get shots like that, like that was a nightmare. So all in all, I really enjoyed. Again, pick of the week. So what is going on? I am finishing up another one of my comic book auctions. We should have that drop at the end of the month. Of course, you can go to People's online auction for that. I'll have the link in later videos, not this one. I got enough links down there for you to check out. Let's see what else we got going on. We have an Evil Lair project that should be done. We're making rockets in that one. I'm going to make a rocket. We're going to shoot it. Just launch it. It's going to be fun. It was just something fun to do since the weather's nice. Let's see, we've got Heroes Con coming up in June. I can't wait to meet you down there. If you're going, definitely let me know. Love to have a beer with you. And I would say that that's about it. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. Talk to y'all later. Bye.